Alright, I love this game. Wait, there's more! Wait, there's a lot! Last time it was just this, but I think they added more DLCs. Aww. Cute, okay. Let's start with this.
Samuel, my dear, thank you for making the time to speak with me.
I'm gonna put myself down here. That way we can see this man.
Come on, Andy. I've got all eternity. I've always got time for you.
An elder vampire such as I should not need your time. But I have been rather foolish of late, and disappointingly powerless against my own cognitive distortions.
We became our teacher's, therapist. Damn, Zero. I have to bring out the lint roller. Wait.
Whoa, Chief, slow down. I can't catch up with all the cognitive distortions you're shooting right now.
I know. I have been neglectful of my own mental health, and that is why I wish to speak to you tonight. Before you came to learn from me, I was the only vampire therapist. But now that you have been trained, I wish to ask for your help.
You know, therapists do need therapists.
Me? Andy, you said it yourself. I'm a baby vampire. How am I supposed to be your therapist? Also, ain't it kind of weird to have your own client as a therapist?
True.
To be a therapist is not a position of power over another, my friend. Naturally, I think a different therapist would be preferable, but you are here.
He's like, literally, you're the only other
be an excellent
vampire therapist.
Well, if you think it'd be all right, well, of course I'm here to talk. I've been worried about you.
I am sorry for that. It has just been emotionally difficult to see how my past, much like myself, refuses to be buried. But perhaps my efforts to bury my past have been the problem. I wish to unburden myself to you, Samuel. I promise it will not take 3,000 years. I suppose you should pick what cognitive distortions I am likely to exhibit. I think we both know what my chief distortion is. As reformed vampires, we have similar mindsets.
Being handsome devils.
It's being handsome devils. The night can't handle the two of us.
That is no distortion, my friend. We are indeed a force of sexual allure to be reckoned with.
Love him.
But what is the cognitive distortion we share?
It's disqualifying the positive. I guess it comes with the territory of being former bad guys.
It shall ever be our crucifix to bear. What other distortions do you think I need help with?
Okay, Andy, I
think those
I'm
are
ready to talk.
different enough.
Do you mind if we play a game while we speak? Much of what I will recall will be difficult to talk about.
Well, sure thing, Andy. What'd you have in mind?
Let us play a little Settlers of Wallachia.
Oh my god, Catan? I'm angry.
Sure thing, Chief. Kind of funny how everything we do has to be vampire themed, but I'm game.
We cannot escape our natures, as Dr. Drain might say. What would you like your first move to be?
Go ahead and build up my defenses.
I think I'd like to build up my defenses.
Not Vampire
The best
Catan. I
offense is
literally
good
can't escape
defense,
it.
as they say.
I am not sure they say that, but very well, my friend. Now then, let me tell you the story of my early days as a vampire.
Okay, 3,000 years ago.
Here, perhaps this will tell you something of my origins. Please be careful with it. It's nearly as old as I am.
Dang, this thing belongs in a museum.
One could argue the same about us, my friend. But this vase has emotional value to me. This poor vampire with a spear in his chest, his name was Machariel. He was my bloodfather, and the love of my short life.
Aww, he was in love.
He was 6,000 years old when we met. He knew secrets from another age. He taught me how civilization had restrained the human animal. We did not even need to speak. He could communicate poetry with a single glance.
That's crazy.
This is the night he was killed by the Trojans. They attacked us in our sleep. I woke up to their laughter and his sweet blood splashing across my face.
Shit. Dang, Andy. I can't imagine how traumatized you must have been.
Oh my god,
Your
that
heart must have been
sucks.
broken to pieces.
No. I did not allow myself to mourn. If I shed a single tear, it would have been my end. The pain I felt was so heartrending. I knew it would be my permanent death.
Chief, that sounds a little extreme. Emotional pain is real pain, but it doesn't kill on its own. I got no doubt that dealing with your partner's death would have hurt for a real long time. But people have been losing their partners since before we had words to speak with, and they all survived that pain.
Yes, I was young, Samuel. Like Edmund, I believed my pain was above all other pain. It is difficult to challenge a young vampire's extreme emotions. I could not face my own sorrow, and so I turned my still heart toward anger and vengeance alone. And my vengeance was mighty indeed. I tortured Mechariel's killers, of course, but this did not cool my blood for even a moment. I was resolved to taint their entire race. I planted a seed of darkness in the Trojan people that would blossom into a corrupted Roman Empire.
He is responsible for the fall of the Roman Empire.
Mythology says that it was Athena who brought down Troy, but it was I. You see, it was I who eliminated the opposition to letting the Trojan horse into the city of Troy. I'd like to show you a painting I commissioned of this event. I think you will appreciate it.
All right.
Well, hot dang, that is one beautiful horse.
You're telling me people fit in there? How? Dracula Castlevania vibes. I mean, yeah.
I thought
love
you would
him.
appreciate the craftsmanship. We men of war love our horses.
Hey, I'm a man of peace now, and I love horses even more. What's it say on the side of the horse?
Faladum votum. It means a gift or sacrifice of Pallas.
What's Pallas?
Historians might tell you it is a pseudonym for Athena, and the gift of the Trojan horse was in her name. That was not my meaning. Let me explain.
Huh.
After the fall of Troy, the Trojans were led by a man named Aeneas, though I usually thought of him as Enos.
Real mature, Chief.
Come now, Samuel, I was young. Anyway, Aeneas was the ideal the Trojans wished to live up to. He was extraordinarily handsome, strong, and wise, not a mindless killer like those who killed my Mechariel. But I would reveal this ideal to be false. I knew the mind of Aeneas. He was a Trojan, and like
It's
all
labeling.
Trojans, selfish and cruel. I would prove there
Or
was nothing
overgeneralization.
redeemable about
But
Oh, I'm
Chief,
just better.
before a Trojan's a Trojan, they're a human. Maybe Trojan culture taught some of them to be a certain way, but being Trojan ain't in anyone's blood. Besides, ain't it you who's always reminded me that vampires don't have nationalities?
You are of course correct, my friend. Aeneas was born a human, not a Trojan. But I wished to hurt him and all his people.
True.
After the siege of Troy, the Trojans were a landless people. They drifted across the Mediterranean to the great city of Carthage in northern Africa. Carthage was run by Queen Dido, and even then, women proved more stable rulers. Her people were happy and content and did not fear the immigrant Trojans. They welcomed the wayward foreigners and invited them to settle in Carthage. They were offered fields to farm in, protection, and a fair place in the city. Indeed, Dido herself fell deeply in love with Aeneas,
Oh no.
and he with her. It seemed the Trojans had found their peace, but for me this was not fair. Why should the Trojans live in peace? Why should they smile when I wept for Mechariel?
There's a lot about the world that ain't fair, Andy. Expecting fairness or that things should be a certain way ain't respecting that reality. I think you were trying to create your own reality, but that's a pretty tall order.
Very perceptive, Samuel. If only I had you around back then to share your wisdom, though perhaps I was not ready to receive it. I could only think of hurting the Trojans. I made certain that Aeneas and his Trojans would no longer be welcome in Carthage. I seduced pure Aeneas. He was not so pure when I was done with him. Seduction was always a great skill of mine.
Said I know that apparently he was in love with Dido. But I made sure that he would rue the day.
I never would have guessed.
But I made sure that Queen Dido saw us.
Oh my god.
She adored Aeneas, and I broke that poor
Look,
woman in my
your
lust
lover,
for vengeance.
gay. Sorry, bi.
Aeneas
and
could not
cheating
face
as
her
well.
again, and so set sail with his people away from the land that had so warmly welcomed them.
Andy's so messy. Oh my gosh.
Queen Dido built for herself a mighty pyre, and even from 3 leagues away, Aeneas was forced to see
And then she killed herself? Oh
in the
my
fire of her
god.
sorrow.
That's kind of insane. Wow.
He could not hide his shame from me, nor his tears. To me, they were beautiful.
That's insane.
Holy shit, Chief. I get that hurt people, but dang, you could have turned it down a notch.
Oh, that
Hi,
was not
Arella.
even
How
the
are
end
you?
of my vengeance.
Hello.
But first, I believe it is your turn to settle Wallachia. What are you going to do?
Go ahead and buy sexy leather outfits.
Oh, let's buy some of them sexy leather outfits. I might end up needing to go to a party.
You certainly don't want to show up to a vampire party wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Now then, where was I? Ah, yes. The Trojans left Carthage for the northern Mediterranean.
We're playing a little vampire therapy game. Okay. Oh, look. You're a cowboy? This guy's a cowboy. Nice. Have fun being a
In the land we
cowboy.
now know as Italy, Aeneas met a noble Greek man named Evander, and to my dismay, they set aside the horrors of the Trojan War and became allies. Evander's people were warring with a local tribe, the Rutulians, led by a bloodthirsty boy named Turnus. In the dark of night, I joined with Turnus. I trained his people in the art of war. I taught Turnus how to fight as a man who fears
Thank
neither
you.
death nor shame.
Thank you for the lurk.
In the ensuing battles, the child of Evander, Pallas, was killed by Turnus, despite Aeneas's protection. Aeneas was enraged that his peace with the noble Greek Evander was threatened, and so, day after day, he slaughtered Rutulians until Turnus's people became afraid and began to turn against their leader. Knowing that Turnus would lose, I convinced him to challenge Aeneas to single combat, a final battle. But Turnus would only lose his life. I was determined that Aeneas and the Trojans would lose their souls. I convinced Turnus to wear the belt of Pallas, the child of Evander he had killed, as a trophy. As I predicted, Aeneas easily defeated Turnus, ending the war against the Rutulians. But as Aeneas extended his hand in mercy, he saw the belt of Pallas, and that mercy melted away. He drove his spear into Turnus's chest, and Rome was so founded, not in mercy, but in blood.
Ah.
So you see, Samuel, I was the cause of Rome's bloodlust. Every cruel emperor, every colonial...
That wasn't you.
injustice,
You didn't kill
even
him.
the spectacle of the gladiators. They were my doing. I'm sure you would agree that the things I did to the Trojans were horrific. Because of the loss of my lover, I aimed to taint the soul of an entire people.
Literally, I cannot blame you because I would do the same thing. You have you have no fault, Sandy.
In the last 200 years, I have done significant acts of good. I have uplifted the poor. I fought the scourge of fascism. I have helped vampires find the peace that was so elusive to me. But the good I do now is washed in the blood of millennia.
No, sir.
But Andy, who asked you to compare those evils to the good you do? Is the Andy of today gonna do more of them evils?
He will certainly aim not to.
So why are you cutting him down? Would it be better if he didn't commit acts of good? Do you need to remind him he's evil every 5 minutes? Or is that disqualifying the positive?
You see why I also need a therapist. Knowledge of cognitive distortions does not mean that I am immune to them.
So you've taught me. But I like the Andy I know, so I'll thank you kindly not to be such an asshole to him.
Aww.
Crimson does say that she likes Imernak to be an asshole-free zone. I would not wish to disappoint her. But regard well, I have claimed all of your souls, and am now the voivode of Wallachia.
Oh shucks, these German board game rules are so complicated.
And I have had thousands of years of experience in the art of war, my friend. Next time, press your advantage. You may do a little better. But for now, let us go down and party. I am DJing tonight, and it is time to get down and boogie, as the children of the night will say.
I love him.
Are the mortals still saying that?
I don't actually know, but I am ready to let off some steam.
Okay, we're gonna go
Come, my friend,
dance.
the night awaits.
When's next time for Spanish Nights coming soon? Well, it's already here. Let's go. Let's do it.
Hello, Samuel.
Hello.
Evening, Chief. You doing all right? You sound a little down.
In truth, my friend, I have been dreading this evening. I appreciate your taking the time to point out my cognitive distortions, but there are some elements of my past that are especially painful to sort through.
Hey, we were both bad guys, Andy. But we're not anymore, and that's what matters.
This is true. Cognitive distortions are by nature illogical, but I have you to help me clear them up. You should decide what distortions you'd like to focus on tonight so that we may begin our work.
I like doing the other ones because it's pretty easy. Here, let's do this one.
I think these will suit me fine. Lay it on me, boss.
It is time for me to stop delaying. I suppose you might be able to guess what aspect of my past is giving me such distress.
It's your slutty past, isn't it? No.
You're thinking about Heinrich Kramer, ain't you?
Yes, my actions 600 years ago bring me no end of shame and regret. I have never truly processed what I did. I have sought to distance myself from Heinrich Kramer, but that is exactly what Edmund King tried to do with his past. I am no different from him. I will summon my emotional strength and accept my part in Heinrich's development as a monster. I believe the 1400s were my worst century.
Oh.
I had professionally killed so many by then, and I was so good at it that murder seemed meaningless. I no longer felt that dark adrenaline that accompanies life-taking. I felt nothing. If I no longer felt anything at the taking of a life, did life matter at all?
Boss, your feeling, or lack of feeling, didn't make reality. How you felt about the value of someone else's life didn't amount to a hill of beans. Heck, maybe that was unemotional reasoning.
Or perhaps anti-emotional reasoning. Yes, I projected my emotional emptiness onto the world. In order to combat this feeling of emptiness, I transitioned from a simple vampire into a far more terrible monster. I became what is known in modern times as a troll.
A troll.
Chief, I'm gonna stop you there. No matter what you were a human being too. This talk of monsters and trolls is way too simple. It's labeling. It ain't helpful. If someone's just a troll, there ain't no way of helping them, is there?
You are correct, I am labeling. It is funny how easy it is to call ourselves names, even when we know we should not do the same to others. Very well. I acted in the manner of a troll. I have observed many trolls throughout history. It is a common fate for those who fail to find purpose. Ironically, it is often those who are most privileged who become agents of cruel chaos.
Oh, like that billionaire fellow who runs all them companies but spends all his time being a low-down varmint online. I'm blanking on his name.
They said, fuck you, Elon.
I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar with the man.
I think that'd piss him off more than anything.
It makes sense for a mortal billionaire to act in this way. Being so powerful yet feeling your impotence on a global stage is a strange kind of pain. Heinrich Kramer was such a man. I was doing business in the southern regions of the Holy Roman Empire when I met him in a tavern. He was drunkenly ranting and raving about the sin of Eve, how women were the cause of all evil, that witches surrounded us.
Elon Musty.
He had gathered quite an audience, who delighted in egging him on to sound even more ridiculous. By the end of the night, he was spouting some nonsense about how breasts were chest horns and that all women possessed a sacral hump indicating a vestigial tail.
Wait, what? Was this fella serious?
The first incel.
It was like a stand-up comedy show, but with more vomiting and misquoted Bible verses. But I was very old already. I saw through the humor to the true hatred beneath. I cannot believe I ever saw value in such a fallen one. I ought to be ashamed.
You didn't think I'd miss that should statement just because you said ought instead of should, did you? There's only one man assigning that should, and that's you, Chief. You're the one shoulding all over yourself.
You speak truly. I have conjured up quite the should storm.
Yep, you're shoulding all over the place, but we gotta wipe that up and see things as they are.
The metaphor is getting a little too visceral now. I will continue.
I'm done with this bit. We are moving on.
Heinrich was already an influential friar in the Dominican order, with ties going all the way up to the Vatican.
After spewing so much hate of women?
But his
That's
hatred
cool.
was childish and personal. His persecution of witches failed because he seemed entirely petty. I functioned as his mentor and press relations manager.
Wait, so you were a warrior, an assassin, and a PR guy?
What can't he do?
Is it so ridiculous? Assassinations are often public relations moves. Dictators have their critics killed for professional reasons, not just personal ones. Anyway, I turned his rambling manifestos into something more grounded. We made a scholarly appeal to Pope Innocent VIII to condemn witches, and he was only too glad to issue a papal bull.
What's a papal bull?
It's a memo issued by the Pope to alert Christians to new positions or doctrines of the Church. In this papal bull of 1484, the Pope condemned those who consorted with devils, incubi, and succubi, and those who cast spells.
It does sound like a bunch of bull.
You are not the first to think so. This papal bull was largely ignored. Pope Innocent VIII was not a well-regarded pope. At this time in his life, he was a frail old man, mostly surviving on the breast milk of teenaged girls. He
What?
was far from a spiritual authority.
He was doing what?
Oh, yuck. I'm starting to see where the Puritans came from.
The late 1400s often mirror our current times, I find. Intensely concentrated power does terrible things to men, especially when they feel threatened. Heinrich was intensely disappointed when this papal bull did not result in the widespread persecution of women.
Dude, this man hated women so much.
I encouraged him to intensify his efforts. Had it not been for my encouragement, perhaps the Inquisitions of the time would never have happened.
I think you're laying too much of the blame on yourself, Chief. Yeah, you played your part in Heinrich's evil doing, but he did too. Maybe if you hadn't encouraged him, someone else would have. Or maybe he didn't even need any help. You can't know.
It is hard to imagine that he would have achieved his goals without me, but perhaps you are right. I cannot know. It is very easy to assign myself all of the blame because I can control my own actions.
Well, that's right. And you can't control Heinrich's actions.
See how the student becomes the master? Yes, you are correct. I could not control Heinrich, but I did help him. It was at this time that I offered Heinrich the chance to dedicate his immortal soul to his dark work by taking it from him. The supreme, delicious irony of welcoming a hateful man of the Church into eternal darkness was too tempting for me. Of course he took my offer. He was all too eager to devote eternity to his hateful work. And just because I thought it would be funny, I told him we needed to have homosexual sex in order for the dark ritual to work.
Dude, this guy is so funny. I was just joking, but I told him that we have to fuck, and so we did.
He was so eager to abandon his beliefs to indulge his hatred.
Oh my god.
Jeez, Chief. You really ain't too picky about who you're getting intimate with.
Oh my god, Andy, you're just fucking
You're
everyone.
such a sweet blood, Samuel. Sex need not always be about intimacy. In this case, it was the cruel irony that gave me satisfaction.
This guy's insane. I love
Heinrich
him.
took to unlife well. He dedicated himself wholeheartedly to his great book, the Malleus Maleficarum.
Oh, you mentioned that before. Well, what was in this book?
Here, take a look. I have an old copy. This is a manual of sorts on how to identify, persecute, and kill witches.
It's
It was
in
a work
Latin.
of dark fantasy garbage, unworthy of any respect.
Jeez, Andy. I feel like you ought to burn this thing. Smells like brimstone and bad news.
No, Samuel. If the past does not teach us, we will be doomed to repeat it. I kept
Real.
it to remind me of just how far I had once fallen. I gave him the brilliant idea of attaching Pope Innocent's papal bull to this work in order to give it legitimacy. We also fabricated an endorsement from the University of Cologne. Fact-checking was so slow back then that it would take decades to challenge the legitimacy of such an endorsement.
That's funny.
Sounds like an election debate.
Oh,
You see, my friend,
And I-
mortals are eager to follow instructions. Church authorities were all too willing to enforce these rules.
Hold on there, boss. Maybe some mortals want.
I've gotten all of these right so far. I actually am a licensed
You
therapist.
gotta know that by now.
that's a lie. Please don't quote me on that.
Of course, I am sorry. I let my emotions get the better of me. I think my current disgust for my old behavior is coloring my thoughts. But you are correct. I am overgeneralizing. You see, my belief that mortals could be controlled was validated by the clergy. I know that many, the wiser among them, ignored the Malleus Maleficarum, but many did not. And so, Heinrich became a superstar influencer. His works spread across Europe, and witchcraft, once a superstitious joke, became a very real problem to the public. This climate of persecution spread throughout the Holy Roman Empire, and would later fuel witch hunts even in your own country.
Salem witch
Even
hunts
the
were
systemic
crazy.
Persecution was not
Shout
enough
out
to
the
sustain
Crucible.
me. Acceptance of radical ideas has a way of normalizing the radical, and I soon became bored of Heinrich.
Wait, you helped make a witch hunting manual popular throughout Europe and then you got bored.
But actually, I've had
A
enough of
troll
this.
requires fuel to feel they matter. If a troll ceases to be radical to others, they are beings without purpose. I told Heinrich as much when I dumped him. I said that he bored me. He was a mere tool to be used.
Oh my gosh,
Dang,
Andy.
Chief, you didn't think much of Heinrich after all, did you?
Many spoke of mortals as insects. I felt much the same way. When you are more than 1,000 years old, it is easy to fall into such thought patterns. Legitimizing witchcraft was a significant accomplishment, to be sure, but its fulfillment left me feeling empty. When the clerical authorities began persecuting witches on their own, I felt rather left out. I wanted their persecution to happen because of me.
But Andy, the actions of others weren't just because of you. They got that dirty old manual you held right, but it was up to them to decide to listen to it.
You speak truly, my friend. I wish you had been around back then to speak with me. The existential angst of a very old vampire is hard to communicate. I just wanted to feel that I mattered somehow.
Aw, Andy.
By 1492, I had to go somewhere where I feel more effective as an agent of chaos. And there was no better place to go than Spain, specifically Granada.
Ah, the Inquisition.
Well, why Spain?
Spain in 1492 was a mess. For more than 260 years, Granada had been a center of learning. The Muslim Nasrid dynasty ruled, but Jews and Christians were allowed to practice their religion and even rose to high positions in society. But when Ferdinand and Isabel of Castile arrived with the Spanish Inquisition, it was incompatible with the harmony that defined Granada. I smelled blood, for lack of a more apt phrase. My instincts were correct. I arrived in Granada in April. Though the stones were still stained red, its conquerors were hungrier for blood than I was. Ferdinand and Isabella had just sanctioned Christopher Columbus's trip westward
out.
in search of treasures to fund their conquests.
All my homies hate Christopher Columbus.
Hey, I know this one. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
I have heard this poem as well, but it did something quite terrible. Do you know what it is?
I'm pretty sure the Native Americans and
For
Columbus
real?
weren't pals.
Indeed, Columbus brought several of them back to Spain as slaves. I
Man.
doubt the few that survived were fans of his. The journey of Columbus was not a noble journey, but a savvy and cruel move by Ferdinand and Isabella to solidify their tenuous position as rulers of a unified Catholic Spain. If I could find my way into their court, I could commit such devilry. It would not be easy for a dark-skinned demon like me to worm myself into their graces, but I found a way.
Well, let me guess. You seduced Ferdinand,
I
or
fucked him.
Isabella.
Samuel, I am hurt. You think I just fucked my way through history, don't you?
Oh, shucks, Chief. I didn't mean nothing by it. I just saw a running theme and thought.
Well, you were right. I seduced Isabella of Castile's chief
Well, I
advisor.
did. Anyway, moving on.
They called her La Latina.
Oh, he had a thing for big booty Latinas?
What a
Real.
woman. Here, I have a painting of her.
Does she have a big booty? Okay, let's see the painting.
Her name was Beatriz Galindo.
No
She was one
no
of the
booty
most
in the
learned
picture.
mortals
But
I have ever met, if not the most. This painting does not capture her essence well, but she was also devilishly attractive. There is nothing sexier than an inquiring mind, and
Aww.
Beatriz, she was one of the sexiest women I have ever
He said, I'm a sapiosexual. I am attracted to intelligence.
You sound a little smitten there, Chief. Better not let Crimson hear.
She knows about Beatriz. Not everything, of course. She
Whoa.
doesn't need to hear the most intimate details. But, seeing as you are acting in the capacity of my therapist, I can tell you, yes?
Go ahead, tell me the hot goss.
She used to do this one thing with her finger.
You know, I ain't a Puritan. I just think all this stuff should maybe be done behind closed doors.
I'm sorry, my dear. I don't wish to go too far, but I will still unburden myself. I believe I did Beatriz great harm. She was newly married when I met her in
Oh my
Granada.
god, he fucked a married woman.
Her husband was a man named Francisco Ramirez de Madrid. As his name implies, he was of Madrid, meaning that his lovely wife was often left alone in Granada. It
Ah.
took me an entire month to get her into bed. Perhaps the longest courtship of my entire on life.
He said a whole month? God damn.
Shucks. For an immortal being, you don't take your time much, do you?
I don't usually have to try. But Beatriz was a woman of principle. She was
Aw.
not ready to cheat on her husband. Or
And
her
then
holy
she
vows.
did. And then she did cheat on her husband and her
She
holy
did not
vows.
share her body with me immediately, but in her mind, the deed had been done 1,000 times already from the first day we met.
Damn, she was mind fucking him? That's crazy.
I knew her by reputation before I met her, and I knew the way into her underclothes. It was through Latin. Other than myself, she was perhaps the global authority on Latin, largely an unspoken language at the time. I quoted Virgil to her, the story of my old nemesis, Aenos.
You mean Aeneas, right?
What did I say?
You definitely said anus.
Oh, my mistake. Anyway, I knew I would be her match in Latin, so I told her, Nunc scio quid sit amor. Now I know what love is. She admonished me for my forwardness, but did so with a smile that she could not
Ooh.
hide from me. With her husband in Madrid, I spent the warm Spanish evenings with her, drinking her blood and sharing thoughts of terrifying intimacy.
Meaning you got up to a lot of kinky stuff.
Oh, the kinkiest. We probed each other so deeply. Do you know what we did?
What?
Well, I can guess.
We discussed Aristotle.
Ah.
Okay, maybe I can't guess.
You cannot know true intimacy until you have delved deeply into Aristotelian logic, biology, and virtues with another. But Samuel, I used her. Even with the bond we formed, a bond that few couples on this earth could ever achieve, I used her. Through her influence, I was able to embed myself into the Spanish court. I introduced Ferdinand and Isabella to the Malleus Maleficarum. They adored it, of course. They loved blood as much as I did.
So you were feeding poison to a couple of already rabid dogs.
Yes, it inspired their brutal actions against the conquered Muslims and Jews, which delighted me in this foolish troll era of mine.
He's just trolling. You know, he didn't mean to commit
After
all these
evenings discussing
genocides.
mystic
He was just
ancient
kidding.
virtues with Beatrice, this was a great
He was
betrayal.
bored.
I deserved to suffer for helping Heinrich, and I deserved to suffer for using Beatrice.
Yeah, I'll be your vampire. Vampire. Therapist, hi, Alred. Congrats on being first. Oh my god. Ugh.
I think she was trying to save me through our conversation, Samuel. I might have charmed her with my voice and my words, but
How are you doing?
she knew who I was. Have you read much about Aristotelian ethics?
We didn't discuss a lot of Aristotle out on the range.
I think he will not be so alien to you. He described a concept known as the virtuous mean. It is not so different from the middle path we speak of so often. Between purposelessness and overambition, there is fair ambition. Between shyness and shamelessness,
I'm
there
doing
is
well.
modesty.
Thanks. We're just doing the, I guess, free DLC with this game. And I really love playing this, so. I was doing a little self-care Sunday.
Reminds me a lot of Isabella D'Este and Dr. Drain.
Exactly. We cannot sustain being individuals of pure vice or pure virtue. There is no peace in such ambition. But I could not hear her wisdom. I was 2,500 years old. Who was immortal to talk to me about ethics and virtue? It is simply difficult to reconcile my disappointment with myself, Samuel. That I helped the evil and used the virtuous. Once I had helped to fuel the bloody ambitions of Ferdinand and Isabella, I abandoned Beatrice. It is a dark thing indeed to live to be a troll. There is no fulfillment in such a life, only pain. A troll such as I was is a societal toxin. We break down the social contract and reduce humanity to a bestial state.
I think you're the one doing the reducing there, Andy. A troll might be a troll, but they're human too. I don't think anyone ever gets brought into this world thinking, gee, I just want to make people miserable. Well, that ain't you, right?
I
Okay,
do
I'll
not
drink water
remember being
again.
a baby, but
Wait, Dorothy, you drink
that
water
was
too.
Not my concern. It is true. I had the capacity to be more than a troll. I simply did not recognize that fact. Alas, I believe I was a far more successful troll than I have been a sincere human being.
Okay,
I used
good,
Heinrich
good.
and Beatrice more effectively than I have ever helped
Doped up.
kindly vampires.
She's drugged up. What have you been eating? Have you been eating a lot of soup?
Andy, you're disqualifying the positive again. Whatever troll you were in the past, comparing him to the Andy of today
What?
is as useful as milking a bull. Well, actually, it might make the bull happy, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
Damn.
Point is, if we're talking about the good you do now,
The souping?
what do your troll
Cream of
days
mushroom
have to do
miso?
with anything?
Yum. Those are good soups.
You're being a real Count Gloomula if you're taking something good and ruining it for no reason.
Count Gloomula? I know of no such man.
I made him up, but he's just who you're being when you're knocking yourself down.
You are correct, Samuel. May that Andromachos remain buried. I will not forget him, but not so that I might torture myself, but to remember how far I have come. I must say, I'm
Nice.
feeling much less burdened having spoken with you, my friend. I feel as though I am in bat form already, with the wind beneath my wings.
I'm glad to hear that, Andy. I don't want you weighed down.
Would you like to go out for a night fly with me, my friend?
That sounds like a mighty fine idea.
Oh my gosh, let's turn into bats.
Then let us go. The moon is high and the night awaits.
Sick. Aww, Fathoms Below. That's so cute. And look, we have it. We have Fathoms Below. Let's do it. So cute. And protein shakes and ice cream. That's a great meal. You're living it up right now, Miss Ma'am.
Hey, Andy, you ready for our therapy sesh, partner? Hey there, you ain't Andy.
What the? What are you doing here? You weirdo?
Bella, what are you doing here?
I was looking for the bathroom.
No, you weren't.
Well, this ain't the bathroom.
I can see that. I'll go then.
Hey, Chief, what's going on?
Penoptibella and I were simply having an exchange.
In exchange of what?
Samuel, my dear, you do not need to know everything.
Okay.
It's not my business to share. We are here for my therapy session, are we not?
All right.
Yeah, that's right. How are you doing, boss?
In truth, I feel much improved, my friend. I believe unburdening myself to you has been most helpful. My lightening of spirit comes with its own distortions, however. Which would you like to focus on tonight?
We'll do these. Trying to switch it up a little
Need
bit.
to handle an ancient vampire. Go on, Chief. What's been on your mind?
The last century has been a bit isolating. Other elder vampires think themselves above self-improvement, so we have little to speak of.
Well, I guess that ain't no surprise. New ways of thinking don't usually come out of retirement communities.
Indeed, we elderly often prefer to sing praises to old glories, but there is no glory in my past, only death.
I want to stop you there, Chief. There is no glory in my past, only death. You're 3,000 years old. Can you really say you got nothing to be proud of in that time?
I am not proud to be an effective killer, my friend.
I just have trouble believing all you did was kill and sleep for 3,000 years.
That is fair. I have met many fascinating people and seen many forgotten wonders.
See, there you go. Don't go tossing out the blood with the blood bag.
You are correct. Against my own wisdom, I hope to erase the parts of my unlife that bring me shame.
Well, it's like you told me. Everyone's got cognitive distortions, and we ain't ever gonna get over them.
Too true. I must accept the evil so that I can appreciate the good. I confess I often wish to give myself a pass, because in hindsight my evil was so pointless. Have you ever heard the phrase, the banality of evil?
Oh, no, but I can guess what it means. Well, evil is pathetic. I mean, look at me. I was an evil bastard, but what I was deep down was a scared, pathetic little boy.
No, Samuel, do not label your inner child as pathetic. A child is a child, and a child's needs are not pathetic. They simply are. Banality is something different. Historian Hannah Arendt coined this phrase to describe the actions of some Nazi leaders. In Western tradition, when we think of evil, we imagine powerful creatures of darkness intent on hurting others. Even in this understanding, evil has no ideology. It is, as you say, dumb. And when we perceive evil as dumb, it is tempting to simply dismiss it. If I live an unlife that is no longer evil, it does not feel right to be judged by the centuries I spent in dumbness. Indeed, it was the realization of the banality of evil that made me question it.
Well, how's that?
Well, you and I know what effective killers we are. There is no mortal that would dare stand against us. We are physically superhuman. But are we truly greater beings than mortals? How many people do you think I have killed, Samuel?
Well, you being 3,000 years old and all, I bet you've killed.
Say a few thousand.
You must have killed a few thousand mortals.
No, my friend. Even if I had sought to be a more ethical vampire, I have lived for more than 1,000,000 nights.
You've killed like a person per
I
night?
have killed far more than a few thousand mortals. The truth is, I have no idea how many people I have killed. I was certain, however, that I was the dominant force of death in the world. But in the 20th century, humanity showed me that I was far from superhuman. If I thought I was detached from the value of life, World War I showed me I was not special in this.
Oh, yeah. I kind of missed both of the world wars. I was busy walking at that time.
They were terrible, Samuel. Mass death events have happened before. The Napoleonic Wars, the Taiping Rebellion, and even older wars killed millions. But the industrialization of war turned corpses into mere numbers. Humanity could kill its enemies without ever seeing their faces. I was there on the Western Front. I saw mortars and mustard gas used indiscriminately, men ripped to unidentifiable shreds. Day after day, month after month, the bodies filled mass graves, each death contributing to no ultimate goal. Back then, I was a creature who saw death as glorious. I thought that mortals were food, owed to me because I was greater than they.
But you know that
I'm
was
actually
personalization, right?
goated. I still haven't gotten
Even
any
if it were
wrong.
true that you were greater than any mortal, they didn't exist to feed you. I know the relationship between predator and prey pretty damn well from all my time in the woods, but I ain't never seen a deer offer itself up to a wolf.
Yes, the view from the top of the food chain can be distorted. We are part of nature, not above it. This casual mass murder showed me that I was not above my humanity. Murder was humanity. I'm afraid, Samuel, that I quite lost my appetite for blood. I did not think such a thing was possible for a vampire.
Dang, you must have been pretty depressed.
You could say that. I was disgusted. With myself. With humanity. Certainly with my own humanity. One night, standing on a North Sea beach, utterly lost, I walked into the sea. Water filled my lungs, but I did not die. I kept walking into the cold gloom, to whatever fate would befall me.
What were you thinking in that moment?
I was not. Without a purpose, all I had was walking. That was all that mattered.
That actually does make a lot of sense, I reckon. I did much the same thing.
I thought you would understand. Yes, I did not walk for a purpose. Perhaps I was walking to find a purpose.
So, what happened?
The light of moon and sun faded away. I saw things in the darkness. Flashes of nightmares, giant eyes peering at me in the gloom. I felt the heat of volcanic plumes. Saw explosions of strange life in the corpses of dead whales. Predators like myself abound in the deep places of the world. These
Nice. Are you guys deep
ghosts
cleaning?
of darkness consumed one
I want to do
another.
that today.
Horrors
Probably do that
feeding upon
today.
horrors. As I walked further still, I came upon the wreckage of a great ship, littered with material reminders of the mortals who once walked its decks. I will never forget the experience of seeing this symbol of humanity's power over nature decaying in the abyss. I had to sketch the great ship
Titanic?
as soon as I could.
Ah.
It was named the Titanic.
The Titanic. I remember that story. John Muir would say it was a symbol of man's hubris. He could be a grumpy old cuss sometimes.
I saw it more as a symbol of nature's ignorance of humanity's hubris. The creatures of the cold deep paid it no mind, ignorant of the death all around them, for there were no bodies to speak of. I think it was then that I finally understood. Death, as a state of nature, has no meaning. Death only has whatever meaning we give it, and my death had none.
You know, I'm pretty sure Eddie Keene said exactly the same thing.
I do not deny it. Edmund was in some ways correct. If we do not give our own lives meaning, do they have meaning?
That's still Nosferatu thinking and disqualifying the positive. You ain't the only one that gets to define the meaning of life and death. Death doesn't erase the memory of a person, just the body.
I suppose one could say their hearts will go on.
I hope you ain't gonna sing it.
Don't worry, my friend. I think we all heard that song a little too much. But you are right. I was so sure I understood death, but I was only beginning to understand mortality.
I get it. There's a reason we're in the same business, I reckon.
Your reckoning is
reckon.
well perceived, and I am grateful that I had my own reckoning. As I watched the creatures of the deep swimming among the wreckage of the great ship, I realized how small my life truly was. I had wondered for many centuries what it would be like to venture into space. Into the great ocean, that need was satisfied. For once, I felt small, powerless, a small spark of life in the void. All my unlife was a primal scream. I am here, I matter. But I finally understood that I could never be heard. I will say it was a terrifying experience, but one that I am unendingly grateful for. And it was more achievable than going to space.
Vampires in space. I guess there's no real reason why we shouldn't go out there. We got time for long travel. Maybe we should take a trip to Mars sometime.
Martian vampires? It's a little silly, Samuel.
Take me to your bleeder.
Oh, Samuel, that was truly terrible. And I adore you for it. Perhaps the day will come when we do visit Mars. But I am content to stay here. There is much to discover about our existence on Earth. After this dark journey, I walked back across the Atlantic, sustained with fish blood and a new will to understand myself. My timing could not have been better, because a new form of science was just coming into prominence. Psychology.
Shout out.
The study of the self.
Well, when was this?
Around 1920. I was not the only human being to question humanity's choices after the Great War. Indeed, if humanity did not question itself after such horrors, this would be a condemned world.
You've been around a long time, right? You've seen oppression and violence like I couldn't imagine. But somehow every time folks get knocked down, they dust themselves off again. I think you're doing a little catastrophizing, boss. Humanity ain't gonna die out so easily.
Perhaps not. I believe the mortals are even more stubborn than we are. The fear of death makes them cling to life.
It's too bad everyone can't just become vampires. It'd solve a lot of problems.
I think we have enough work on our hands already, my friend. But where was I? Oh, yes. It was my questioning of the self that brought me to this place. Psychology was born right here in Leipzig.
Oh.
No shit.
None at all, my friend. A man named Wilhelm Wundt lived
Wilhelm
just on
Wundt.
the street. He developed a method where we describe our own thoughts and sensations.
Well, that sounds mighty familiar.
My tummy just growled.
Yes, the hints of cognitive
really loudly.
distortions were present already. I read his works voraciously. I was obsessed with the study of the self. I became interested in my own feelings. Why did I rage for so long? What did it feel like physically? And I realized that my prevailing feeling was always fear. Like Edmund, I was a coward. Oh dear, the similarities are piling up.
Now let's take a step back there, Chief. I've been afraid too. Dr. Drain was afraid. Isabella D'Este was afraid. Medi was afraid. And we know about Eddie. I reckon every mortal's been afraid too. That don't make us cowards, and it don't mean we're Eddie Keene neither. It just makes us human.
Yes, I believe I know this in my dead heart as well. Fear is a part of nature, and we are only slightly unnatural. Why was I not interested in myself for nearly 3,000 years? I should have shed my ignorance long before.
I think you know as well as I do that there was a
I know. I should have recognized my own should.
You should have recognized your own should.
Your observation is certainly valid. I should listen to you more.
Oh, come on, Chief. You don't need to listen to me. Listen to yourself.
I am teasing you, Samuel.
You really are a dusty old joker, Andy.
No, I do appreciate your pointing out my should statement. I did find my way to the self. I was simply not ready to face myself for a few millennia.
Damn.
But I did develop an obsession with knowing myself, and it took me to some very awkward places.
All right, Chief, I'm ready. I ain't afraid of sex, so you can talk to me.
I suppose it was about sex.
Here we go.
This is when I began my studies with Sigmund Freud. I
Oh, my
spent
homies
much
hate
time with
Freud.
him. He shared this obsession with understanding the self. We analyzed each other, which
He
helped
fucked
us
Freud?
to analyze ourselves.
Amazing.
We hid nothing. We knew that we would understand the truth if we laid it bare. The bearing of truth in this case was difficult. I horrified him, I believe. Take a look at this picture. What is your impression of this woman?
Is that his mom? I'm gonna say, I wish she were my mom.
I
With
wish you were
everyone.
my mother.
That is an unexpected answer, Samuel. Why would you say this?
I don't know. There's something about her. She looks
I
like
knew
my
it.
mom, but
I knew it. It's
also alluring in her
it's
own way.
Freud's mom, and he wanted to. God,
Perhaps you and Sigmund
I
Freud
hate
was
Sigmund
a
Freud. He's so stupid. Anyway,
This
it's
woman
fine.
was most beloved by Sigmund. She was his mother.
Yeah, of course it was his
Show me
mom.
This very picture and say, Andromachos, if she were your mother, you would want to fuck her too.
That's insane. But you know what? Freud would say that. So
I don't use this phrase often for obvious reasons, but what in the Sam hell?
He could not imagine why anyone else would feel differently. Of course, I overshared with him.
why
as well.
wouldn't you want to fuck your parents, huh? Freud, shut the fuck up.
I do not think my recounting of the convent of San
took
Sisto
MILF
War
literally, no, for real.
1417 helped us to gain a greater sense of self-awareness.
What?
Though I always found it humorously ironic the way the nuns still cried out to God.
Oh, the nuns had an orgy? For God, of course.
Boy, you really like a little novelty in the bedroom, don't you?
Me? No!
Oh, Samuel, you are such a millennial.
I'm way too old to be a millennial, Andy.
I mean to say that you were born in the last millennium. You will understand when you are over 1,000 years old.
You know, you're not my daddy.
Oh,
No, I am not, though perhaps I joke like one. But Sigmund had made a grave mistake in our explorations of the self, and in doing so, cast doubt on the truly groundbreaking work we did.
what did he
He
do?
eventually died, as
Oh.
mortals do. But my
Real?
lust for understanding the self was not quenched. I became interested in the philosophy of those of my lifetime, and the philosophy of the modern era. It was like charting a map through humanity. It was invigorating. I felt alive. This feeling showed me that I was on the right path. The thinkers whose works I read all had the same obsession I did. They wanted to unlock the formula of humanity. That was my true aim as well. I thought that my immortality made me the ideal student of the self. I had time to question and explore, but I did not account for the fact that the act of questioning made me grow and change myself. I am no longer the man I was yesterday, and tomorrow I shall be someone new. I have become aware of ways in which I could be more mindful, more kind, more fashionable even. I chased the truth, Samuel, and I chased the good. It is a shame that I can only chase them, never catch them.
You ain't ever gonna be perfect, Chief. Neither am I. You're right. The more aware we are, the more them goalposts are gonna keep moving. We can always be better.
I love
But
self-improvement.
I think you're disqualifying the positive of being good enough. You're trying, Andy, every day. I think that's the battle won right there. You ain't gonna slip now. 4,000-year-old Andy is gonna be a force of good to be reckoned with.
I know. It reminds me of a pearl of wisdom Marcus Aurelius gave me that I could not yet understand. He said, "Waste no time in arguing what a good person should be. Be one."
Wow.
I take these words to heart now, but it is hard to not have deep regrets.
I think you know how to address them regrets there, Andy.
Are you going to do the horse thing? I would prefer you didn't.
No, I ain't gonna do the horse thing.
I am relieved. But yes, you know what I need, and I gratefully accept
Is
it.
it a hug?
Andy, let's accept all the dark deeds you done.
I guess not.
Let's accept that it took you a long time to change. Ain't no getting around that. It's time to show a little compassion. You're doing your best. You're a better person for all the work you done. You, my friend, are good enough.
Good enough. I suppose I am.
Would you like a hug there, boss?
Yes, I knew it. I called it.
I would love a hug, my friend.
Let me see it. Aww. That's so cute. Thank you for... Fantastic game. I really like this game. Sweet. And with that, I'm going to end there. We finished 2 games today. Oh, I hope everyone has a really restful Sunday. A good rest of their week. I don't know what my schedule is going to be since it's the holidays and all, but I will post it as soon as I know. GG's. GG's. I am so hungry. Let's see, is there anyone on?